Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Yeah, that's a sound.
That's my Ghostbuster sound. That's my terror dog sound.
That's what they sound.
Yeah.
Hey,
hi,
everybody.
Hello. Hello.
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Ghast boosters.
We said Goose Booster?
Goose
we did like a
boosters?
German thing earlier. It was great, you guys. We didn't get it on
Ghast
tape.
boosters.
You guys would have been laughing.
There hasn't been a ghost sighting in 30 years. New York in the 80s, it's like The Walking Dead. Your dad never mentioned this to you?
It's just my mom. My grandfather died. My mom says we're just here to pick through the rubble of his life.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
All right, so this is that movie.
Yeah, sure.
I was almost sick of this movie, kind of like Free Guy, not because it hasn't been advertised to death. I just the internet, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
The
it was
internet.
supposed to come out last summer, and it's been rescheduled 2 or 3 times since then, and the internet is just so ready for this movie to be the greatest
for better
thing
or for
ever.
worse.
Yeah.
Oh, I would say greatest or worst.
Yeah.
I would say this the internet, people have been judging this movie for a while, including myself.
Yeah.
What did you think of this movie?
I thought it was mostly pretty bad.
Sure.
I thought it had some good stuff in it, but on the whole, I thought it was boring and baffling as a Ghostbusters
Ooh.
sequel. I thought it was real confusing as a Ghostbusters sequel.
I didn't find it confusing as a sequel. I have mixed emotions on this stupid film.
Sure.
Because my critical brain is like, yeah, it was what we said it was going to be. They just did it. They just did it again. It's like The Force Awakens, you know. They're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
They're doing, oh, it's all the stuff.
Yeah.
It's all the stuff again.
Everybody has weird amnesia, like Force Awakens.
They mention the New York
well,
stuff.
except for 2 or 3 characters when we need them to remember, then they'll remember. But for the most part, nobody fucking remembers the discovery that ghosts and spirits in the afterlife are real, and that the world almost came to an end in the mid-'80s in New York.
Well, they do mention it. They
mention
several
it.
characters bring it up as like the New York thing that happened, and then the ghosts died out apparently, or they stopped happening, and then everybody forgot about it from there. And that is the weird part where it's like, yeah, this would be a world where
it would
be like a department of the government.
It would literally change humanity to learn that ghosts and the afterlife is real.
Right. I don't care about that, to be honest.
I really intensely care about that because it's
really
like, yeah, it's such a cynical, creatively bankrupt thing to do, to give every character amnesia just so you can spend 3/4 of your movie having the characters rediscover the first film. It's like, get the fuck out of my face with that.
I guess it's more just I don't care about the inconsistencies, because what Ghostbusters is built on, in my opinion, is just bullshit. Like, it's just bullshit for a comedy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they forget it between Ghostbusters 1 and 2. They do that between 1 and 2 as well, where, like, no one believes them again, and it's like, why wouldn't they believe them?
Yeah.
That is so weird.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean is that, like, this is why I was like, my feelings are complicated, because Ghostbusters to me is not special, but also extremely special. You know, it's the first movie for me. It's the movie I saw as a baby in the theater. My mom brought me in. It's the first movie I remember.
Mm-hmm.
It's that thing that shaped comedy,
Yeah.
For me, and I'm sure for you as well. There's pictures of me as a kid with my cousins. We played Ghostbusters. We dressed up. We bought all the toys.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably more than anything else.
Yeah.
A thing that made me.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, it means a lot, but as a actual property, it's just a comedy that a bunch of guys made.
Yeah.
Wrote in a cabin, probably on cocaine. You think it's cocaine?
Almost certainly, yeah.
Yeah.
It was the 80s.
Yeah.
They originally, in the original script, they went to space and traveled through time and shit. Yeah, no, it was
right.
100% cocaine was involved.
Yeah, and I guess what I mean is that, like, it's always been commercially bankrupt, I guess. Like, it's always it's
Do you mean creatively bankrupt?
Creatively bankrupt in the sense that it's nothing,
Kind of. I don't agree with that, actually.
Well, again, like, it's hard to I'm walking a line here because I do think it's a very creative movie. It's well shot.
It's one of the most unique movies ever made.
Yeah, and the comedy is, of course, amazing.
Yeah.
I guess what I mean is when we start talking about lore.
Yeah,
like,
I don't care about that.
My eyes glaze over.
I don't give a shit about that.
And so that's the stuff where, like, I guess I would have been more concerned if they really, really, really tried to make it make sense. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying I like this movie. I'm still, like, processing this movie, I guess. Because I think you're right, is that this movie wasn't great. It still got me in a few places.
Uh-huh.
It's what I imagine the Star Wars Force Awakens did to people, right? Who liked Star Wars. I didn't grow up with Star Wars.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I mean, I had a lot of the same problems with Star Wars Force Awakens.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas everybody forgot what happened 20 years ago. It was just it's everybody rediscovering the first film. It's like so reverent in tone. Like, that's my biggest problem with this film, is that it's so serious. And it's like, this is a sequel to a comedy, and you guys are playing it so fucking serious. I don't understand that at all. Like, there's this weird tone of reverence for the first film, but it's not even for the first film. It's for the fandom of the first film. Like, that's why it's a movie about kids, because people who are super diehard Ghostbusters fans were all kids when the first movie came out. That's the reason, like, the Ecto-1 has a gunner seat in this movie. Ecto-1 doesn't have a gunner seat in the movie. The toy did. Like, there's a ghost that's with a big eyeball. That, it's fine. You can make up new ghosts, but, like, that ghost specifically, that was a toy. Like, it's a movie about paying respect to the fans and not actually understanding or matching the tone, or even it's a movie about respecting the fans and not respecting the film itself, like what the film actually was, which was a comedy, with it, like this weird premise and just a bunch of, like, bozos in the middle of it, like trying to run a grift out of it. Like, that's the tonal mismatch of the backdrop of, like, this huge apocalyptic scenario with these, like, schlubs in the middle of it who are just trying to make money off of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, at its core, Ghostbusters was a comedy of its time, too.
Yeah.
It was the comedians of the time doing the type of comedy that was being made at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess this is where I get stuck, because they tried that, too, with the 2016 Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's essentially what they were doing. They were doing a comedy of its time with the comedians of their time, running more of a grift, and I don't think anybody liked that either. I think the answer is just not to make more.
Well, there's
like, I guess that's what I'm getting to is I don't know what the solution is. I don't know how to fix this movie other than just don't make a Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Because they already did the other thing and everybody went boo. And so they're like, okay, I guess we'll fucking Force Awakens it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people are going to eat this one up for that reason. And
Probably.
I'm on the same page as you, where I don't think that's the correct way. Honestly, it's one of those, it really comes down to, like, not everything needs sequels.
Yeah. Not everything needs to be a franchise. Like, most people don't even like Ghostbusters 2.
Right.
Like, so it's like, maybe we should just stop this.
Right. It's like why they don't make more Back to the Futures until Zemeckis dies, that is. Then I'm sure they'll do whatever they want to that corpse.
Yep.
But like the first Ghostbusters honestly is self-contained, and it didn't really need to be anything else. I love the second one, even though
so do I. But
I get why people don't.
I recognize why it's not very good, but I still like it. It's at the very least, it's funny.
Yeah.
I don't understand why this movie isn't a comedy.
Right. They definitely went for the dry humor. At times. It didn't. Yeah. The audience I was with was eating it up, to be honest. But like, I liked the girl who plays Egon's granddaughter.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I think they were trying to go for that dry humor in a lot of places, I thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's mainly fairly serious. They do little things like irresponsible science. That is part of this. That's Paul Rudd's character showing them like Cujo and Child's Play.
Yes.
That is of the spirit of Venkman.
Yes,
there, right?
That is the spirit of he is a Ghostbusters character. Like, I wish he and the girl who the actress is named McKenna Grace, I wish they were in a different Ghostbusters movie. Because they match the tone of Ghostbusters. They
do, and I could almost have seen a version where it's just them, being learning to be Ghostbusters or something, finding the old equipment. It's hard because it feels more like when a band that hasn't played in a while is playing, where it's like it's not about the concert, it's about the nostalgia. It's about taking it all and being like, remember all the hits. Let's bring everybody out. Everybody take a bow.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it felt like more to me. It felt like almost like a Ghostbusters special that would be on like TV. Does that make sense? I don't mean the content as much as the tone.
A little bit. It was, again, it's a movie that is more about its fandom than anything else. And that is the exact wrong instinct to make a film.
Yes.
It's like, we don't see the first ghost until an hour into this movie, because the first hour of the movie is all about the characters rediscovering the first movie, and that's insane to me.
All right, so no, you're right. I'm pushing back a little bit, because one of the things I did appreciate that this movie did, and it should have had ghosts sooner. And the rediscovering stuff was irritating, but it did spend a lot of time on the characters, which I just thought was good for storytelling, in the sense that it spends a lot of time with them. It's so weird. It doesn't feel like a Ghostbusters film.
No.
But it's constructed in a lot of ways like a pretty good drama comedy at times, I would say, where it's like they spend a lot of time with this family who's moving in to Egon's old place and to rediscover their granddad, and like we get to know the characters, and we get enough with them that they feel like people, like they didn't just brush aside establishing and building charismatic characters, and then it all just sort of leads to being a Ghostbusters again, a remake, a reboot.
Yeah.
And that's the part that, like, honestly, that's the part that my eyes glazed over the most on. Because it was just so, oh yeah, it's Gozer and they're doing the stuff again. It's what we said, like when we were watching the Hypecast, or during the Hypecast, we were saying like, oh yeah, Paul Rudd is going to become the gatekeeper, or the keymaster.
The keymaster,
like it's all the things we knew it was going to be.
Yeah.
It's just Gozer's back, the mom and Paul Rudd are the two, and then they have to stop them. And at the last minute, the original Ghostbusters will show up, and that's what happens. Yep. It's extremely pandering.
Yeah, it's all it is.
Yeah, the reason why I'm like, I sound conflicted is because when the Ghostbusters showed up, which I knew they were going to be, I still teared up, and I hate that. I hate that about myself, Tom. It emotionally affected me to see them. Because it occurred to me you haven't like there's shot, Bill Murray will put on the outfit for a sketch or something, but like they've never actually appeared in a film as the Ghostbusters since the second one. And hearing them actually act like the Ghostbusters, it did it. It stabbed me right in the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid fucking ghost Harold Ramis. I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, and it's so cynical. And at the same time, I think it's because it's them and it's all in the family.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Jason Reitman. And I know that they were like very careful about what they could and couldn't do.
Yeah.
That I know that like they're going off of,
Yeah,
the most respectful way possible.
Yeah, that was honestly, weirdly, that was one of the things about the film that I liked was their tribute to Harold Ramis at the end.
Yeah, it was really sweet. And I guess that's what I'm getting at, is that as a film, I do think it kind of fails as just like a 2-hour-long Ghostbusters tribute. Like I really enjoyed a lot of it. Yeah, and that part, basically when they show up, when the Ghostbusters show up,
mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed it.
I did. I enjoyed most of the finale.
Yeah, when fucking Sigourney Weaver shows up.
Yeah.
In the credits.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, and it's just hearing him Bill Murray do Venkman again, and like even fucking just all of them, Ernie Hudson and even Dan Aykroyd doing Ray, because again, they're basically themselves, but not quite.
Not quite.
If that makes sense. Yeah. And it was that realization of like they are unique characters
mm-hmm.
That I haven't seen.
Yeah, and this probably won't happen again.
Oh yeah.
There's a at the very end of the credits. There's a second post credit scene. I don't know if you saw that one.
Oh, I did.
Okay.
It feels like they're basically leaving the door open to do a new generation of Ghostbusters, mm-hmm. and like
with
fucking of course,
and specifically with Winston Ernie Hudson involved,
right? And I suspect because they like lined them all up, and they're like, "Which one of you is the healthiest?" It's you.
Ironically, I think Ernie Hudson is the oldest.
Really?
I think so.
He is the,
and he's the one he looks great.
he clearly took care of himself, unlike the other two.
Right? Yeah, he took a little bit better care of himself.
Yeah.
I love Bill Murray so much. He looks old.
Me too. Yeah, because he is old.
Old. They're all old. But yeah, like Ernie Hudson shows up, like, man, he looks great. Annie Potts shows up, like, man, she looks great.
She looks great.
Yeah. But
how much money do you think they offered Rick Moranis? Because Rick Moranis.
Oh, they probably asked him, but like Rick Moranis has very publicly said he's done with movies.
Yeah, he's not doing movies anymore. But they asked.
They
him.
must have asked. I'm sure they asked him.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He didn't.
It would have been fucking amazing.
He didn't even come back. And that honestly, seeing that tribute to Harold Ramis at the end made me reflect back on the PS3, the console Ghostbusters game that they made about 10 years ago. That had all 4 of them in it, and it's this like cool. What Ghostbusters 3 would have been, and it just made me reflect on how special that game is. It's like, oh wow, you actually got everybody back. Like William Atherton's in it, even. Like they got everybody back to make a new Ghostbusters, and it was that video game. Yeah,
there was a plan for a Ghostbusters 3 in the 90s,
mm-hmm.
and I bring this up because of a meme that's been going along on the internet. It was supposed to be the future of Ghostbusters, and this checks all the boxes, including the ones you're talking about canon, where there were going to be like firemen in the country, where there's Ghostbusters everywhere now. It's just a service.
They've done that with the IDW comic series to an extent, where they have like franchises in different cities. Yeah.
Yep. And the plot was, as far as I remember, that
it's the ghost dimension, right?
Well, what I had heard is that Satan was mad that they were doing what they were doing, the Ghostbusters, and so the plot was that Satan brings down the original Ghostbusters into hell, and they have to be rescued by like the scrappy newcomer Ghostbusters,
mm-hmm.
one of which was going to be played by Chris Farley.
I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and the reason I bring that up is that meme where he was in the audience when they were on like Oprah or something before he was famous, Chris Farley. That I think that would have been a cynical cash grab, but it would have been the extension of this series that we probably should have had, Yeah,
maybe.
Like that if you're going to make a third in the 90s, they're still all around the same age, and that would have been a good extension of it. And like it's starting from the need of like, well, we have to make another. So what do we do? And like that, the answer is don't make another. But they're like, well, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, we're obviously not going to do that.
Yeah. So like thinking from those terms, it's like, what's the best possible way you could make another Ghostbusters?
Mm-hmm.
And here's my the case for this movie is that it's almost better to not try to recreate the first one in that tone, because I think that's what they did in 2016 and everybody got mad. It's almost easier to just be like, well, let's just make like a sci-fi drama.
But that's not what it is.
I know.
It's a comedy.
I know.
Like, why, if you're not going to make a comedy, what the hell are we doing? Like, why is it? That is so baffling to me. And I mean, there was a lot of reasons why the 2016 Ghostbusters didn't connect the way that it needed to. Obviously there was, I don't know, but
my opinion on that,
I don't think it's the fact that it was a comedy specifically.
No, my opinion on that is that both the 1984 and the 2016 are comedies of their time. The problem is the time in which the 2016 was a time of comedy that we were sick of.
Yeah.
And that was on its way out.
It's the Apatow, Paul Feig type of comedy, and I really don't like that,
I really don't. There's a lot of great performances in that one. I thought, but that is structurally, they're just rebooting it, right? And they're trying to do the same thing, but with different characters. But there was still like, it did feel like it was one-to-one of who each one represents. There's a lot of problems with that one, aside from the fact that they were trying to make a comedy. But then the question becomes, who makes the comedy now? And I see why they went to Jason Reitman, because he just has the most access.
Yeah.
To the originals.
Yeah. I think that was probably a big part of it. Also, right. I mean, another cynical aspect of it possibly is that Jason Reitman needs a hit. He hasn't had a hit in a long time.
He did Labor Day, Tom.
I know, and that was not a hit, Dave.
No.
But
that's a shame.
I think there's a couple of problems I think this one shares with the 2016 one. One being that it's too fucking long.
Yeah, they're both really long. Yeah. I don't understand why they make them so long.
What are we doing? Why is this 2 hours long?
90 minutes, folks. 90 minutes. That's all you need.
But yeah, it's like, I think the 2016 is the right. I wish there was you would marry the 2016 one with this one and cut it down to 90 minutes. Because one of the things I did like about this Ghostbusters is the ghosts, the horror element. Like, I thought it was genuinely spooky, and the ghosts looked like ghosts from the same universe of the original film. And like, watching the spooky sequences of this film kind of made me think, man, maybe I want to see Jason Reitman do a horror movie.
Oh yeah,
because the spookiness was like pretty good, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, that's one of the complaints of the 2016 was that they forgot about that tone that Ghostbusters had. At least the first one. I feel like the second one they geared it more towards kids. Still was spooky. I remember being scared.
It scared me. Yeah, and there's some shit in that movie still that's like, it's scary.
Oh yeah. I remember being freaked out when the Titanic shows up.
Yeah, the Titanic, the River of Slime, Janosch when his eyes turn red, or when like his eyes become headlights in the hallway. Like there's moments in that film. Vigo, like the haunted painting, it's kind of creepy.
Right, and they're doing it here. They're definitely doing that here. It's the case of the course correcting, where the prequels where they're like, this is kid shit, so then Star Wars is like, okay, Star Wars is serious now. It's really serious. It's really dark. And it's like,
not really.
Although honestly though, I would say that those new Star Wars, if they had just written fucking movies,
right? No, the tone wasn't like the problem with those movies.
Yeah, they wouldn't have been so bad if they just like knew what they were doing.
Yeah, that wasn't the issue with they matched the tone fine. I thought it was just
yeah. But there was still that like where we don't want to be the prequels feeling, and this definitely has we don't want to be the 2016. So we're going to be very, very, very like
we're going to
nail it.
Yeah, it was just like they're treating Ghostbusters like it's the fucking Bible or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand this tone. Where it's like nothing but this wide-eyed reverence for the original film that nobody remembers in this universe for some reason, except for like 2 characters.
Again, I just don't think they care about that part of it.
It's like, obvious they don't care about that part of it.
It felt like it was just built around Harold Ramis. They even do a part where all the Ghostbusters are like apologizing to his ghost for not like having a falling out, which, you know, very famously Bill Murray had with Harold Ramis.
Yeah.
So like that's why it emotionally affected me, not because of the story, but because all of the context around it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really what it is that like it's not, oh my God, I'm crying because I'm seeing the Ghostbusters again. It's all of this history with these comedians and growing up with them and knowing everything about them and seeing them stand next to each other is fucking unreal.
Yeah.
And it's still so cynical because they had to CGI one of them.
Yeah.
I don't know what the solution is here, except for just not making more.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's if you're gonna make a sequel, and it's like, we're getting it, like, you know, we're getting back to base, like this is the true sequel. This is the sequel the fans deserve, and yet it seems to not really care about the original movie. It doesn't. It's like I've said it a few times now.
It cares too much, I would say.
It's more about this is a movie that is paying homage to the fucking fans and not the actual film itself. So there's like, for instance, when the little girl Phoebe finds Egon's secret lab in his barn or whatever, there's a pole that she has to slide down to get into it. Now, if you remember, the gag in Ghostbusters is that Egon is terrified of the pole.
Right.
Why would he build that for himself? Like, I mean, it sounds nitpicky, but if you're going to do a sequel and if you're going to market the sequel as being like, this is the spirit of the Ghostbusters, like this is really, we're paying so much respect to the original film, but like not to the actual text of the film, like what's in the film, like rather just like the iconography and like the marketing and the cartoon show and shit that it became, like the fandom's interpretation of the movie.
Right.
It's like you're not respecting the film. Like, what are you doing?
Well, it's for the producers, that is the film. It's the toys, it's the icons. That is the thing, is that again, thinking about Star Wars, where they're like, well, we got to have the Millennium Falcon, and it's like, do you? You don't.
You don't.
You really don't.
Kind of doesn't make sense.
And that's the thing, is like, it's still like, yeah, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't, though, because it's like, yeah, they got to have the proton packs. They got to have. I was surprised Slimer didn't show up. I was genuinely surprised. I wasn't angry because I'm an adult, but like the fact that they were doing all this pandering and they didn't put Slimer in, it's like, well, you might as well at this point, right?
Yeah.
Because that is what you're talking about, is that the things that they made sure to really, really include is all the skin deep stuff.
Yeah.
All the superficial ideas. I just don't know how much people care about it beyond that either. If they're entertained by the movie. Because I don't think the Ghostbusters, I don't think the original, the idea where it's like you just said, Egon's scared of the pole, I think that's just a one-off gag they did.
Right, but it was a gag, and it's also part of the character. Like, it's, okay. Like,
I don't know how much attention to detail they need if they made just a comedy that was good and felt like it was a Ghostbusters universe.
Mm-hmm. But they didn't, is the point.
Yeah.
It's like they didn't do any of those things.
They did. I'm not saying they did.
And they didn't do any of those things specifically in service of paying respect and proper tribute and reverence for the original film, but then it also doesn't get the details of the original film right. So it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, right. What is this? Like, it killed me that they kept showing the ghost, the We're Ready to Believe You commercial from the original film. And in that shot, I mean, not in that shot, but in that commercial that the scene that they kept playing, there's a very specific, incredibly subtle joke that Harold Ramis does in that commercial, where when he steps forward and steps back to deliver his line, he very obviously and like pointedly looks down at his mark to step forward and then step back. And that's like the essence of what Ghostbusters is just these weird gags based on these three comedic personalities that are all distinct, and there's not a straight man among them. Like there wasn't somebody going like, hold on, Venkman, what are you saying? You know what I mean? Like they didn't have that character in that because they were all just doing these gags that were based on these comedic characters that they had done, and there's none of that really in this film.
No.
It's so showing that commercial in the middle of this movie of this wet sack of nothing that is this movie. It's like, I guess, it's showing me a better movie in within your movie. It's like, oh, that's what this movie's supposed to be. I
just don't know what the answer. Again, I don't know what to expect here. Like,
make it a comedy.
Yeah. But then who do you get to write it? Who do you get to do the jokes? Because the jokes aren't going to be the same jokes as the original. If they try to copy the jokes of the original, it's going to be awful.
Yeah.
So what do you get? You get Taika Waititi to do it. You get like that. Honestly, that would be, I think, really fun.
That would probably be funny. But I'm saying I'm not saying it needs to match the jokes. I'm saying it should be a comedy at the very fucking least.
Right.
It just at the least, and like have character. I don't know. Just have. This movie is so preoccupied and obsessed with being serious. It's truly baffling to me. In my mind, it's an impossible problem. Sure.
It has no solution other than not making another Ghostbusters, because in my head, Ghostbusters at its core, and I think you'd agree with this, was 4 people.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's being like unfair,
a little
because
reductive.
There's a lot of
there's a lot of
it's
Sigourney,
being a little reductive.
A lot of Rick Moranis.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a specific type of humor that existed. Like, honestly, I get the same satisfaction watching like Stripes. Well, all right, not the same satisfaction, but you know what I mean, is that era of comedy is very delightful, and it's very specific, and Ghostbusters was just among that. And what we have is a situation where, like, imagine like the same thing happening with like Caddyshack. You know what I mean? Where it's like they were just these stupid comedies that they made, and then we're done. And they were just such a big hit that there's this weird need to extend the canon, and they're clearly afraid to do something different because they tried that in 2016. And so now they're like, okay, well, they're all taking Ghostbusters real seriously, and then they're just doing the fucking Gozer thing again, and it's like, like they didn't. I guess that's the stuff that bothers me more, is how, like, you're right, the ghosts look great, but did you notice that they're all just the ghosts? I think you pointed this out. They're all more or less just the ghosts that we've seen. Yeah. Oh, there's the skeleton guy.
There's a skeleton.
Oh, there's the Slimer.
There's the terror dog.
Yeah.
There's little Stay Puffs.
Yeah, it's little Stay Puffs, which doesn't make any sense. The Stay Puffs, if you want to talk about like the consistency in lore, Stay Puft Marshmallow Man came from fucking Ray thinking it up when he was supposed to not think of anything. I don't know why they're in this movie.
Nope.
They don't make any sense in this movie.
Nope.
It's just remember this shit.
Yep.
I just don't care at this point. It's like, I didn't expect anything from this movie because it shouldn't exist, as shouldn't have the 2016. Like, they should just make different movies.
Sure. And I'm not going to argue for whether or not something should exist, but like, if you're going to make a Ghostbusters sequel, the first thing you should check off is, well, it's got to be funny. That is confounding to me that it's not a comedy.
I think this movie thought it was funny. Like, I think this movie thought it was a comedy. Because they do have jokes throughout.
They have jokes throughout, but it's so serious.
Well, you have the Paul Rudd stuff. Them all their talking, the stuff where it's like, don't be yourself, where they say to each other very sarcastically. It's very dry humor, which is, I would say the first Ghostbusters was that as well. In a lot of places, but they are trying to be funny characters, I would say. It's more just that they're all very sarcastic.
Yeah, everybody feels like the same character, which is an issue.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say that this wasn't a comedy. I think it's trying to be a comedy.
Sometimes. I mean, the overwhelming tone is serious, in my opinion. This leans very heavily on treating the Ghostbusters with like respect and reverence, and it's like, well,
I definitely think that part of it, but I do think that the characters themselves are telling jokes. Even when this was actually one of the parts that delighted me is the way they treated Harold Ramis when his ghost shows up and they do the shot where they're all fighting, all four of them, including the ghosts. And then they have Ernie Hudson look over, and they're not like, their looks aren't like, ooh, it's him. They're like, what the fuck? Like, all their looks are, they're confused by him being there. They're like weirded out by it.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciated that.
Yeah.
I appreciated that the tone there was just like, the fuck is he doing here? I don't think I don't think they're trying to make a fully serious movie here. I think there's a lot of gags throughout it. I just think a lot of the humor is very dry. The whole thing where she's trying to come up with jokes, where she's trying to be popular. I think Podcast is a comedic character. I'm not saying I found him funny.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the actor's fine. Nothing against that actor. But that character could have been plucked right out of the film.
Yeah, that character is trash.
Yeah.
Honestly, you can delete Trevor, the Stranger Things kid. Delete him from the film. He doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, I think
like
it's just that they wanted four.
Yeah,
that's it.
His whole
that's it.
His whole subplot does not matter.
What is his subplot?
He goes to work at the burger joint and starts a burgeoning romance with Bokeem Woodbine's daughter. Remember when Bokeem Woodbine showed up in this movie? 3/4 of the way through.
Honestly, the only part that made me like go, oh fuck, is when he says, "Who you gonna call?" Because they like, that's the shit that I hate, because they zoom in on him as like this heroic moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much the Benedict Cumberbatch saying, "My name is Khan," where it's like he said the thing, and it's like, but he just said, "Who you gonna call?"
Yeah,
that's it. You could have just had him casually say it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the movie's full of moments like that, like the Twinkie in the glove box.
Like yeah, it's the member berries.
The
where
stacked
like
books in Egon's house. It's like, why would they do that?
There were nerds in the audience my age who were like clapping at times, and it was like, okay, calm the fuck down.
My audience,
you know,
the audience I was with, very weakly clapped when the Ghostbusters showed up, and it's like it sounded like a clap of obligation.
That's still too much, yeah, because it's like they're not here in the theater, like. That stuff, I don't know. That's the pandering stuff that really bothers me when people are like, "Ooh, it's the thing. They did the thing. Oh, he put on the goggles. Oh, he has the colander on his head." And it's like, man, why did he keep that colander? Why didn't he make a better one?
Yeah, doesn't make any sense.
Why do they have all the same stuff? It's that shit is, yes, very, very irritating. But again, I go back, and it does sound very, like, lazy for perspective, but, like, I just don't know what to do with this franchise other than just don't make them. And so, like, I'm very nihilistic, I'd say, about this one, because I don't care. You know, like, the Ghostbusters, the original, meant a lot to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's moments in this that really touched my heart for that reason. But, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm exhausted after the 2016 one, where it's like, I don't know what the point of any of this is. You know? It's like, oh, I don't know. Is it to start a new franchise for kids?
I guess.
I don't think kids need
Why
this,
do kids,
you know?
Kids probably aren't going to give a shit about this. Like,
I mean, it's ultimately just to make more money.
Sure.
But again, it's like it could have been a short film with just the original actors. The only thing that mattered to me was extending the canon to the original actors and characters, and I'm glad they didn't do something dumb like have them like sacrifice their life or something, do a Han Solo, because you know they could have.
Mm-hmm.
They absolutely could have done something stupid like that. So it was more nice to see them show up and then be like, yeah, and he's still with Dana and everything's good.
Yeah.
Although, where's Oscar? Where's Oscar?
I don't know, man. He's an adult.
What does Oscar have to say about it?
I mean,
He could have gone out.
Oscar's like a 33-year-old man at this point. He's probably out living his life.
He's at a bar doing slam poetry
Hell
about
yeah, he is.
that time when he was a kid.
When he was a vessel for a Carpathian demon god.
Yeah. The open mic night.
Also, this movie seems to erase Ghostbusters 2. Did you get that feeling?
Oh, yeah,
because they only talk about the first one. They don't mention the fact that they brought the Statue of Liberty to life.
Yeah.
Or any of that shit. That's just wiped right away.
It's weird because it's the answer to how to make a new Ghostbusters, if you had to, is to make the 2016 one.
Yeah.
Just make a good version of that.
Make a better version of that, yeah. Make a 90-minute version of that doesn't cost $250 million.
Yeah, you just reboot it. The best... So it goes, number one way to make a new Ghostbusters is to don't. That's always on the top.
Mm-hmm.
I think number two is to not make a sequel and to just try to make it your own thing, right? And the video game you brought up, or like a cartoon, something like that, where it's like it's not even another movie, because it's always going to be compared to the original.
Yeah.
As like a weird sequel, like this opening it up for more movies, it's just, I don't know, it's the wrong instinct. It's just the thing we're doing.
Yeah.
It's the thing we're doing is we're running everything into the ground.
Yeah.
We're just sucking it dry.
This was a Jurassic World ass movie.
Yeah. For sure. But as a movie, I'd say I didn't mind it that much. I liked it technically better than you, I would say.
It sounds like it, yeah.
I didn't hate this movie as a movie. Is I guess what I'm saying is that outside of the context of Ghostbusters, I thought there were good performances. I thought the characters were charismatic, and the ending worked on me. Yeah, because it was designed to work on me.
But the movie does not exist outside of the context of Ghostbusters. Like, it's so much member berries.
Yes,
it has them get possessed
again.
It has to do the there is no mom,
Zool,
only Zool. It has all the same shit that it's impossible to separate it from the context of Ghostbusters.
Oh, of course.
So for me, it's like it's not a movie. It's like a nothing movie. It's it's just a bunch of remember this.
It's a tribute. It's a
tribute.
Don't know.
It's a tribute.
Again,
but it's
really
a tribute to the
like...
fandom rather than the actual film. Which is sure, okay. I guess you really are. I don't like the idea of movies being made to appease a fandom that got loudly angry on the internet. Absolutely. And that's what this movie is. That's what this movie feels like to me. I 100%
agree with that. It feels like that. It also feels like it really does feel like a Force Awakens deal.
Yeah, because that was also made with the same intent.
With the extreme pandering.
Yeah.
It's extremely pandering.
Yeah, and that's not a movie to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that checks out. Yeah, I don't know. That's what I meant where I'm still digesting it too, is when I walked out of this again, the critical part of my brain was like, I don't think that was a good movie. But I wasn't upset watching it. And I think it's purely on the fact that I didn't expect anything from this.
Yeah.
I already knew what it was before I walked in.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, yeah,
I had no hope for this.
Well,
you know why? Did I ever? I think I explained why I was burned by Jurassic World. Is I was cynical about Jurassic World in the entire advertising campaign until the day before I saw it, and I decided, you know what? You're too hard on this. You need to lighten up and enjoy Jurassic World. And then that's why I walked out of that movie.
Sure.
Because I was like, you tricked yourself, Dave. You tricked yourself into setting your expectations high. I had none of that for this. I came into this movie very cynically.
Well,
I think.
I always want to like the movie I'm watching because I'm spending 2 hours watching it.
Sure,
but
I didn't want to see this movie. I guess when I got up this morning, it was a chore. It was an errand,
Yeah,
because it is exactly what I'd expect plot wise. But I get what you're saying. Is I'm always trying to root for a movie for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I got to spend my time watching it, so do I want to enjoy it? It was just the first. man, it's like the first hour of this movie is not only boring, it's also just so much pandering that it's like, okay, like, what are we even doing here? Like, I was like shocked when I looked at my phone and an hour had gone by. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Is the movie going to start at any point?
I think it could be pandering in worse ways. I think stuff like they don't try to recreate the humor or specific jokes. They try to think of their own jokes. The plot points are exactly the same.
Well, some of them. I mean, I don't know.
Some of them.
I
don't know. It felt like they did stuff where they're like, well, they all have to be arrested at one point. You know, they were doing their. It is, if you look at it, I'm pretty sure it is all the plot points, just like done in slightly different ways. Where there's like initial ghost testing, going to jail, no one believes them, the possessions, them having to face off.
Mm-hmm.
It has a few little differences. It doesn't have a giant Stay Puft, I guess. They didn't do giant monster.
No, they did a soul tornado though.
Yeah, they did.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I do appreciate the restraint of that, because didn't even the 2016 have giant?
I've never seen it.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that. That 2016 one has its moments, much like this one has its moments. They're just kind of. It really is that they both, like, you could marry the two and make a okay Ghostbusters, I think.
Yeah.
Because they both overcorrect in different ways.
Yeah, I was so exhausted by the discourse around the movie that I just never wound up watching it. And also I don't like Judd Apatow or Paul Feig movies. So it's like
it's very
on
much
top
one of those.
that, I was like, I really don't want to see 2 hours and change of lightly edited improv in the Apatow style.
There's still definitely some fun moments, but yeah, that is what it is.
Yeah, it's the same reason I never watched.
I'd say Leslie Jones and Chris Hemsworth are killing it. Everybody else is fine too.
Sure,
but it really, again, it's just so of its time that the movie is already irrelevant. It was just very much like, we're gonna do this very specific type of comedy.
Yeah,
and it just. Everybody was already sick of it, you know?
Yeah, it's after like Anchorman 2 and like This Is 40 and shit like that. I was like, all right.
Right. And okay, here's what it is. This is what you've been trying to tell me this whole time. Like the 2016 Ghostbusters, if you take the Ghostbusters part of out of that, it's just a comedy, like, of its time, and it's funny at times, it's not funny at times. It is what it is. And that was the thing at the time. It was like, just make another Bridesmaids or something, you know, like,
mm-hmm.
why are you slapping Ghostbusters on this? It just feels like one of those comedies with Ghostbusters slapped on it. This is like the opposite, where it's like, if you take out Ghostbusters from this, it fundamentally falls apart as a film.
Yeah, there's nothing here.
It is completely rested on Ghostbusters as a brand and as a legacy.
Mm-hmm.
It is not. It's the same as the Star Wars, where it's like half of the moments only work because we remember that stuff from the original.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It's all rested on nostalgia.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess where I disagree with you is I didn't mind the flavor that they added to it. The jokes, the characters. I didn't find it as boring as you did, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it was that first hour, I was entertained enough, but it's definitely a film that, yeah, there's nothing here.
Yeah. And again, I liked some stuff. I liked the finale. I liked all the ghosts. I thought the prologue was pretty good. Like when it started, I was like, shit, okay. Like, this is a movie. And then, of course, the next hour happens. or should I say the next hour doesn't happen? Because nothing happens.
Okay. Here's what it is, you know what I liked about the first hour? It reminded me the least of Ghostbusters. Because the last hour is what I expected. You know, does that make sense? Where, like, they do all the beats, but they kind of push them later in the film.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, moving to a new town, your grandfather, stuff like that, where it was like, okay, this doesn't feel like they're just trying to do Ghostbusters. they're doing like its own film.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just starts doing all the same stuff after that. So I think that's what it is about that first part that I didn't mind, is that it should try to stand out and be its own film. And I guess I don't mind that idea of doing a different type of comedy, because again, what the alternative is the 2016 one. I don't know. It's
weirdly serious. Yeah. Way too pandering to like the worst instincts of fandom, like the worst aspects of fandom. It's bleh. That's my review. Bleh.
Bleh. I don't know, man. Mostly like I'm just glad I'm done with this movie in particular.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm sure they'll make another.
They might. I don't know. I'll be excited when the discourse is done.
Yeah, I don't know. I still need to chew on this.
Sure.
I don't think I want if they made another Ghostbusters.
Don't you mean you still need to munch on this?
Munch on this, God, muncher.
Yeah, muncher.
Muncher was fine, I guess. I don't know, man. That's what it is. It's just it's fine.
Well,
it's
Muncher also doesn't make any sense with the context of its own story. Like why they release one ghost, which is very specifically one of the two terror dogs they release from the trap, and then Muncher shows up for some reason. I don't understand that.
Wait, where Muncher came from originally, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
after they spend time telling us nobody remembers the Ghostbusters, there hasn't been a ghost sighting for 30 years, they let the terror dog out of the trap, and then suddenly Muncher appears. It's like, all right, I don't see how those connect, but sure, let's go.
Right. The weird thing they didn't explain that it felt like they were gonna is why ghosts exist, I guess.
Yeah.
Because the weird thing is it's that idea of like, well, why did this ghost stop? Is it because all right, they imply that there's these timelines, right? They do the thing where there's like a doomsday clock.
I don't know what that means either.
Yeah,
I guess that was pretty loose.
Well, I guess they talk about in the original Ghostbusters is that the reason ghosts are suddenly showing up is because the apocalypse is near.
Yeah.
So I guess it's what's happening. But what they didn't do, like that's the weird thing, is in this version, only one ghost shows up.
Yeah, a ghost shows up, and it's Muncher. But like
they should have done like an influx in ghosts going into it.
Yeah, and that's not what happens. It's just a ghost shows up because they wanted another Slimer to fight. No, the part about that I was specifically talking about is all the events they're pegging as like the apocalyptic events. So it's like the Krakatoa explosion, the like an earthquake in 1908, the 1984 when all the ghosts show. It was like these are just like you're just picking shit at random. Like what? Why are all of these connected to ghost activity?
Were you like me where you were white knuckling waiting for 2001 date to show up on that list? I was white knuckling.
I mean,
like,
they
don't you
might
fucking
as
do
well. That's because they had 1945 in there.
Yeah.
And it's
they say something
like
right. What didn't happen?
Yeah, what didn't happen during that time? So okay, so are we talking about a whole year? Like some of these are a single event. Some of these are like ongoing global conflicts. It's like what the fuck is the connective tissue here?
All right. I don't care about any of that because I think the original Ghostbusters is just as bad with that stuff, right? Like that, none of that shit matters to me. The plot holes, like I don't care about the plot holes. I don't care about the inconsistencies because the core of Ghostbusters was to just create a vehicle for these four people.
Mm-hmm.
Not even like three comedians, you know?
Yeah.
And then everybody else added was delightful and created, you know, this world. But like to me, it was always that. And that's the thing.
Well,
is
it was
making
at
them
least
grifters in the original really worked and spoke to that because it was all just pseudoscience and bullshit. I think one of the weird things that happen in this movie is the reverence for science. And I like science, but in the first one, they're grifters.
Yeah.
Like they say like, relax, I'm a scientist, but they're not really, you know, they're mad scientists.
Yeah.
And so I think that was kind of lost. And like, it's for me, like that's part of the heart that was missing from this is like the grifter aspect. The fact that they're just like, they don't give a shit really, you know?
Yeah.
I would have liked seeing that.
Yeah, we get a little bit of it with Paul Rudd, but not enough.
A little bit. Well, yeah, his character is that, but yeah, the formation of it, like that's what it is, and that's I think what you're talking about as well, which is the reverence to Ghostbusters is weird when the Ghostbusters were formed like very unceremoniously.
Yeah.
And that's what it is Ernie Hudson shows up and they're just like, great, you're hired, you know, like they don't give a fuck. That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like I feel like that spirit isn't in this.
They switch directions for like this,
not really giving a shit. Like,
yeah,
that's not in it.
It switches to like the inheritance of heroism. Like it's real fucking dumb. It's like, all right, like is this Star Wars or is this Ghostbusters?
Right, and it's why Ghostbusters 2 didn't work. To be honest, is because they have to reset the canon. Because the whole thing about the first Ghostbusters is them becoming heroes, right?
Yeah,
it's these grifters becoming heroes. And so, like, it does make sense to, like, hold them in this high esteem, I guess. But in the Ghostbusters 2, they literally reset them back to grifters. And that, I think, is kind of what they were trying to do, where it was like, no one's heard of them, you know? We're doing that again, but it just didn't, that specific detail felt lost.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they do the thing where they start where they have money troubles. And it's like, oh, if this becomes like a way to get money, that would very much be in the spirit of Ghostbusters, right?
Yeah.
And then they just sort of don't, like that thread of we need money, it's just gone. Like they're still in debt at the end.
Yeah, they don't get any more money.
Yeah.
Like
so I don't
this
know why
family
they
is
had
still
that.
devastatingly poor.
Yeah.
It only existed to get them to this farmhouse that they know nothing about so that they can have an hour of discovery. That's the only reason that plot point's in there.
It would have been neat. Okay, so it would have been neat, and I know we're running long. Not really, actually, but it would have been neat if it was like, we don't have any money. The kid discovers this equipment and starts like trying to charge people for their service, something like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, all right, we have this inciting incident that we need money. That's where we're starting with. So just extend that into the movie.
Yeah.
It does lose the thread very much.
Immediately.
Mm-hmm.
It's just to give them an excuse to move into this house where they have to discover shit. That's all it is.
Yeah.
They're very obsessed with this discovery angle, and it's quite irritating because everyone in the audience already knows.
Right. They're spending an hour discovering shit that we don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, I think that's all I have to say about this movie.
Yeah, I guess for me it's seeing, like, I don't know who's old and makes music. Bob Dylan. It's like you go and see him now, and it's not great, and it's mostly a bummer. But then he'll like play. I don't know any Bob Dylan songs.
This is already
this is a terrible analogy.
Great that you picked this analogy. Yeah,
exactly. Then he plays the song, and it still gets you.
Mm-hmm.
You know the song, I'm Bob Dylan by Bob Dylan.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He plays that, and that still gets you. And that's what this movie was to me, is that it wasn't really much of anything. I didn't hate it while I was watching it. And then it fucking made me cry when the Ghostbusters showed up, and I was immediately mad because of how easily manipulated I was.
Yeah.
But it does, yeah. The other realization that it does mean something, and I appreciated seeing them in it. And then the movie ended.
Yeah, it ends pretty quickly. For as long as it fucking is, it ends pretty quick. I mean, so the original Ghostbusters ends pretty quickly too, but
yeah, that's of its time thing.
Yeah,
where it's like Die Hard as well, where it's like, and then we walk out and the credits roll. And it's like, okay, Jesus, all right, let's go.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. I guess my recommendation for anybody who's on the fence is just watch like the last 20 minutes, because that's when all the original Ghostbusters show up.
Yeah. I mean, I don't
And
know.
Dana.
Watch it or don't watch it. Who cares?
Yeah, that's the other thing, is I'm just tired of.
Yeah, it's not a terrible movie. It's not very good.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that bad. I might watch it again at some point. I'm not mad at it, but it is very much everything you're saying it is, Tom. You know?
Yeah.
It is just trying to make a buck off of the nostalgia of Ghostbusters. And in a perfect world, we would have moved on from it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
Man, Muncher.
Fucking Muncher be munchin'. What are you going to do?
He munches stuff.
He be munchin'.
They at least paid off Muncher, I guess.
Sure.
They did. They paid him off.
Yeah. He ate through the
He ate through the thing.
Yeah.
Just fucking bring Slimer back. I don't know.
Even
man.
though he can pass through any other wall he wants except for those metal bars.
Well, no, he wanted to
he
eat
likes
it.
to eat metal bars, yeah.
His name is Muncher.
But he tries to get out of the cage first and is stopped by it, and then he eats it. Uh-huh.
That's stupid.
It is, Dave. It is stupid.
What a stupid film.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's fucking whatever.
I hate this review. I hate us.
Why do you hate us?
I don't know. I think it's just that it was always going to be this way.
Yeah, I don't know.
Also, in a perfect world, I would have gotten to just not talk about this film and let it exist and move on with my life. I have that feeling, too, where it's like, what's the use? What's the use of talking about Ghostbusters for an hour?
Who can say, Dave? Who can say?
Yeah.
Maybe they'll make a legacy sequel to this podcast episode 30 years from now.
Bring me back
And
when I'm dead.
we'll CGI your dead fucking ass in here somehow.
All right, that is one of the things. Is I read interviews where they're like, we kept asking the question, what would Harold Ramis do? And honestly, I don't know if that is the right way to judge it. But what the fuck would he care? Like, yeah, bring him back. Who gives a shit?
Yeah,
it was done. It feels more respectful, honestly, than bringing back like young Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
Or like where it's like a corporate where they're like, she does, she didn't have a choice in the matter.
Yeah.
They're just like, we own you. You're dead. And we're de-aging and slapping you in this film that you don't give a shit about.
Right.
This
at least, obviously there's a cynical commercial aspect to it, but this at least had an emotional component to it.
Yeah, and it's all like his friends.
Yeah, it's his friends, and it's like
his family
within the family, and it's like within the Ghostbusters family more specifically. It felt weirdly earned.
It did.
And he doesn't speak, which perfect. Don't.
Yep.
If you're recreating him as a ghost, okay. I mean, that's sure. But it was done as respectfully as you can do that, I think.
Yeah, I didn't expect to see his face.
No,
I did not expect that.
Neither did I.
They show his fucking face.
Uh-huh.
They CGI. It looked good.
It did not look bad, yeah.
No, they had the advantage of he's like a ghost, so he's like transparent and shit.
He can look. He doesn't have to look photorealistic or like whatever the word is. The fidelity is not as important there because he's a ghost.
Right. I don't know. It fits with Slimer being the ghost of John Belushi, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, that's even more insulting, honestly.
Well, I mean, they were actually his friend and knew the guy, so I mean, if they're the ones saying it, then sure.
Yeah, he was notoriously always sliming people.
Yeah, he was sliming the shit out of everything, busting through walls.
Yeah.
Trying to steal room service carts.
Right.
Which may have been a thing he did.
It's the fact, yeah. Oh yeah. It's the fact that they're friends. Like it's friends doing it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if I die and you guys want to bring me back as like an animation, I trust that you'll do something funny with it and like something that would probably be fine.
I hereby give you permission to resurrect my fucking dead ass if I'm the one that bites it first.
Right. The person I don't give permission is like Disney, or a corporation. That's what that's what it is. Yeah. Even though this is very much done by a corporation, it's Ghostbusters, it does feel like it's like them getting together and being like, yeah, let's bring him back. He's that person we all knew.
Yeah.
Like, fuck it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we can be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's be done. Let's be done with this, Dave.
Hey, folks, thanks for listening. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. For just $5 human dollars, you can listen to all sorts of podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder's Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, Spiel Boys. Those are all on there. Check it out.
Yeah. We also have a store. Head over to gamefullyunemployed.com where you can find a link to our Teespring store where we have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs for all of our shows and some other stuff that's not specifically our shows. You can get that shit on T-shirts and mugs and stickers and posters, all kinds of stuff. So check that out.
Mm-hmm. You understand how humiliating it is to cry at the sight of a Ghostbuster.
Yeah.
Like, that's all. Yeah.
No, I got a little misty. I had some of my own personal shit wrapped up in that, but...
Sure.
But yeah, no,
but
it's the genuine...
In general.
Yeah, I get it. I get why you're angry and embarrassed about that.
They're called Ghostbusters.
Sure.
That's what they're called.
It was more the emotion of it.
I know.
Of all this time has passed, here are these guys back together, like the genuine...
Right.
Like the genuine emotion in Dan Aykroyd / Ray Stance's reaction when he hears that Egon has died. Like it felt earned, but also very embarrassing.
Of course. Yes. I'm just embarrassed.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed.
No, I get it.
Dan Aykroyd talked about hearing that kid's podcast.
Sure.
Man,
I mean, yeah. If that kid had a listener, it would be Dan Aykroyd.
It would be Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah.